Hello, this is Maha Hassan. I am going to give a lecture today about how students see technology the way we see it. Do they see technology as we see it or not when we use it in class and in school? First, I'd like to introduce myself. I am Maha Hassan. I've been in the teaching career for about 30 years, and I've been teacher trainer for about 15 years. I've got a TESOL course certificate and adult certificate from Wisconsin University, USA, and another course of critical thinking from University of Oregon, and I have done my pre-masters in English literature. I like teaching very much, and I believe that as teachers we have to be doing professional development all the time, because technology is developing very fast, and so teaching should do the same way. First, I would like the participants with us to tell us where he comes from. Would you please show us on the map where you are from? You can press this star and then show us on the map where you are from. Are you following? Yes, you are from USA. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. Of course, before we start, we'd like to thank the sponsors that have enabled our conference and have helped a lot in supporting the conference and in helping in professional development for teachers all over the world. Since we've got introduced to our participants, I'd like to start with our first slide. Do students see technology as we do? Eric Schminger, in the Conference of Administration 2 weeks ago, said that we see technology as a tool because we need it as teachers in order to help students to learn. But do students see it the same way? And he said that some of his students said that we see technology or using the computer in learning as a foundation. It underlies everything we do. That's why it's very important for us to understand how our students think, and do they really accept using technology in education or not? Do they really benefit from it or not? So here I have a group of questions to start with. Have we asked ourselves if our learners agree to the procedures we take? Do they see using technology in learning the same way we do? Do we need to keep their desires into consideration, and will this bring about better results? These are the first questions that we are supposed to ask ourselves before we really allow ourselves to use technology in class. So at the beginning, let's start first with teachers' opinions. Let's see what do teachers say about using technology in class. Here in Miriam Musharraf and Yigal Rosen, in a very interesting article called Collaborating with the Computer to Collaborate with Humans, says that we believe that working on computers develops the capacity of an individual to effectively engage in a group process. They believe that some students, they are not highly sociable, and they can't go on with their peers quite well in class or while they are working. So they believe that if we help students to work on the computer in order to interact with the computer and then to interact on the computer with their peers, this would help them a lot in becoming much better sociable persons. Miriam Musharraf and Yigal Rosen have made studies on 179 students in 3 different countries, and they found their studies showed them that the students who collaborated with the computer agent showed high levels of performance in establishing and maintaining shared understanding and monitoring progress towards solving the problem. And once they were given the problem in math, in science, whatever, they showed great interaction, and they were able to solve the problem so long as they are dealing with the computer agent. or the computer itself. Even more surprisingly, the students who are providing constructive feedback to the computer agent were more engaged than students who were working with the real classmates. This means that when two classmates were working together, this is what they found through their studies. While they were working together to solve a problem on a game, educational game, they did not perform as well as the person who was giving feedback to the computer itself. On another study, Ms. Steinkohler, who is an assistant professor of education and communication technology at the University of Wisconsin, said that how players in a chat room had used complex mathematics to argue for a certain plan to attack against some unruly beast. People were actually not kidding, gathering data on things like the game's monster's behavior, putting it in an Excel spreadsheet and building little mathematics models to try to beat the monster. This means, what she wants to say is that the students were very serious while they were trying to solve the problem of the game. While they were trying to solve the problem of the game, they were taking it so seriously that they used the Excel spreadsheet on the Google or on the computer in order to organize their way of thinking and find solutions to the mathematical problem that they were supposed to do. So Steinkohler believes that computer games or education games can really help students to think seriously while they are playing, or in other words, while they are having fun. So that's one of the opinions of experts or computer experts that help teachers to make educational games. On the other hand, Will Wright, he is the designer of the best-selling Sims game, says the problem is that many of the educational games aren't much fun. And then he surprisingly asked, isn't much fun what makes games attractive to students in the first place? This takes us back to the first opinion of Miriam Musharraf and Yigal Rosen, who believe that it's very important to engage students in the game that we are using for education. If students if the game is too serious, the students won't enjoy their time, and thus they won't learn that much. But if we add fun to the educational games, for sure this would help them to get more involved, and in other words, to get so much interested in what they are learning. In another article by Jeffrey Young, called 5 Teaching Tips for Professors from Video Games, it says that professors in most college classes don't always give feedback as rapid or as exhaustive as that. Sure, they return papers and other assignments with numbered grades and occasional comments, but that hardly resembles those score screens on an Xbox 36 game. What if for each of the aspects of the assignment you got a sub-grade? Students could see that in these parts I got an A, but in these other parts I got a failing grade. That might be more meaningful than a big C at the top end of the paper. The teachers, sometimes they don't write any comments, they just give a wholesome number for the paper, C, B, A, or good, very good, and that's it. And the students don't understand what they have really done wrong, what has done wrong with their writing, what is good, what is bad. So it's, when they play on computer games or educational games, to be more specific, they believe that the computer gives us feedback every time we move from one step to the other, and thus in this case, the students or the children get updated information about their performance step by step, and so this encourages them to go on and perform much better than just getting a wholesome mark at the very end of the test paper or the exercise paper. Also, on another article written by Kristen DeSerbo, she called the article called 5 Differences Between Education Games and Gamification of Education. She argues that good educational games should be designed around a theory of learning that identifies the knowledge, skills, and attributes the game targets. A learning game is designed to support students, providing scaffolding and opportunity to construct meaning in the service of developing new understanding. In other words, that when we design a game or when we use a game in teaching, we have to have an aim for this game right from the very beginning. We should be sure, are we going to add new information to the students? What skills are they going to learn? For example, are they going to practice learning or solving or using, for example, present simple, present continuous, past perfect, past continuous, and so on? What kind of skill are they going to improve? Are they going to improve writing sentences, writing paragraphs? So we have to have a target for the game before we start. And we shouldn't consider it only a kind of fun, or we shouldn't only consider it a kind of practice, repetition, and that's it. That's why at the end of the paragraph, she says, simulations allow us to create a world that meets students where they are and allows them to create their problem space. In other words, we want to make some kind of copy for the real life. For example, instead of writing in a copybook or instead of giving them handouts or sheets in order to solve in, they can do this on the computer to be more interactive, more fun, and at the same time they can get feedback from the computer step by step about their attitude or what they have already done, have they achieved something good or not. So this helps a lot in encouraging the students even to go on more and do more exercises in order to expect more development in their own level. Also here we have an expert called Paul Thomas from the New York Times. He was asked by the New York Times in an investigation about advantages and disadvantages of using technology in schools. He said, we rarely consider the negative implications for acquiring the newest smart board or providing tablets for every student. We tend to chase the next new technology without evaluating learning needs or how gadgets uniquely address those needs. Paul Thomas here in his words, he wanted to say that even if we try to apply any level of technology, we have to test it first. Has this really benefited the students and they have achieved great results? Is it suitable for them? Is it suitable for their level? Or is it too complicated for them or too simple for them? We have to check the different kinds of technologies that we use step by step before we just go on moving from one technology to the other without gathering the results or reaping the harvest behind this. So far, these have been the opinions of teachers and educators and professionals and the computer specialists about computers. But let us see how students think. Do they really believe in what we say? Do they have the same opinion or not? We find that the European Commission asked for a study or a great survey to be made all around Europe in 2013 about using technology in schools. And finally, they came up with the following results. At EU level, at the European level, a large majority of students agree or strongly agree about a positive impact of ICT use on various learning processes and on class atmosphere. They want to say that many students agree that this helps them a lot in making fun in class, in having the class more enjoyable, more interacting, more engaging, and it helps them a lot to learn in a much better way. And to a certain extent, regardless of the issue of grade in question, what they cared for is that they enjoyed the lessons in class without caring that much about grades. That's the majority of students, that's what they said. Another group strongly agreeing about the fact that using a computer is really fun in the most frequently encountered student attitude towards computers. Around 75% of the students think so. Slightly lower percentages of students, around 70%, agree or strongly agree about the fact that using computers for learning will help them in the future life as others. So most of the students believe it's fun and they liked what was going on. Another group believes that this is not only fun, but this is very good for the future, because in case they can really know how to use the computer and the different devices of technology, this would help them later on in the future to develop their skills in using technology, and thus help them to have better levels of education and maybe better jobs in the future. A lower percentage, interestingly, the lower percentage of students at all grades, about 60%, strongly agree about the fact that they lose track of time. Unfortunately, some of the students, 60%, said that while we are working on the computer to study at school, we lose track of time. They get so much involved that they don't take good care of the time. They don't have good time management. And when they are learning with the computer, that happens when they are learning with the computer. The same proportion is observed at grade 11 concerning the use of computer for learning because an interest in computers. So 60% of the students said that they lose track of time because they are so much involved in their interest with computers. At EU level, positive but tenuous correlations are observed between students' attitudes towards computers and the number of years they have been using ICT, as well as gender at grade 11 in general education. What happens is that whenever the age of the students gets higher, the students get so much more involved in using technology in studying. Not only that, but gender difference. The longer students use computer school, the more they have a positive attitude towards computers and vice versa. At grade 11 in general, boys have a very slightly more positive attitude towards computers than girls. Maybe boys are much more involved than girls. I'm questioning this. I'm not sure about this point, but I think we need to test it more than once to make sure about this. But the most important idea is that when the students get older, they get more and more involved in using technology in studying at school. And so it interests more in what they are already doing. In another investigation or questionnaire held by the New York Times Learning Network, there was an investigation called "Do Your Teachers Use Technology Well?" A student said, "At my school there was a fundraiser to get smart boards in almost every room. In some cases it can be really engaging, like algebra, geometry, or science like physics, because those are subjects which can tend to get boring and difficult to understand. But the smart board helps as a visual aid and still draws attention. It is a visual aid, but I'm not doing anything with my hands." That's what she means to say. On the other hand, I have marvelous classes such as various language and history classes and English class, in which I'm grateful for the lack of smart board. So this shows us that children or students, although they are interested in the smart board because it helps them to understand science better or algebra or geometry better, for example, but at the same time they don't want to use it all the time, because sometimes when the smart board is there, it's not always helpful. She says that those are classes in which we don't need as many visuals, and it's more effective to use less technology. So in the English classes, for example, or the history class, she believes that it's much better for them to use the textbooks or to use sheets or handouts in order to do the work, or work even in textbooks, rather than just follow the smart board without having any interaction in class. Surprisingly, another student said the teachers these days rely on technology every day. Without it, we wouldn't even have class. This is very surprising. When the computers are down, it's a free day because the teachers don't know what to do. The technology doesn't necessarily make learning better. It just makes it easier and faster to learn. So in this case, he doesn't believe that technology is a vital tool for them to learn in school. So it makes the learning experience better in the final outcome. It's nice, it's interesting, But it's better to use hands-on textbooks rather than the digital one. Although it makes it better for the teachers because the students can study whenever and you don't have to buy a lot of sets. Personally, I like the new way of learning, but if more changes take place, which they will, it will be a different story. So he believes, this student believes that it's very nice to use technology, but he prefers using textbooks instead of using technology in school. A third student says, at my school we used a lot of technology to help us learn. Sometimes we go on the internet and search certain subjects, and I think that helps us most. Most teachers use PowerPoint now for note-taking, and I like that a lot better than a white or chalkboard. Sometimes there is technical difficulties, but that happens to everyone, so it's not a huge problem. In some classes, we learn by old ways like textbooks and just listening to the teacher talking about it. In language arts, we do a lot of discussions, math, a lot of examples, and science, social studies, textbooks, and discussions. There are a lot of different ways to learn, but technology definitely helps us out. And this student believes that technology helps in doing researches, getting a lot of information, and helps us out means they help us to find solutions to what we are supposed to do, the homework, the assignments, and so on. But at the same time, using textbooks is not rejected, according to this student. On the other hand, another one has a similar opinion, saying, I grew up with a computer in my classroom and had my first cell phone at the 8th grade. Growing up, I felt like technology was the new ways, so I saw a mix of traditional teaching mediums and technology-infused ways of teaching. So this student was, I believe, reasonable enough to say that if we make a mixture between the traditional and the modern ways of teaching, that would be highly enjoyable. And personally, I hate online classes. So this is very surprising that they don't like to interact with the teacher online. They believe that it's much better. They can chat, they can send assignments online, but they prefer to act with the teacher face to face. I hate lectures where we follow a PowerPoint. I learn more talking to a teacher and learning from their experiences and interacting socially. We don't do that enough, and it's the main way of learning. So interactive conversations within the classroom that stimulate creativity and constructive thinking is the type of environment that I learned from the best. If this student was reasonable enough to say that he likes or she likes using the computer in class, but he or she prefers to have interaction with the teacher face-to-face, this, he believes, is much better in learning than get much better results in learning and studying than just watching a lecture online. And he believes that interactive conversations helps them to be creative and build their constructive thinking, which is very important in education. If we use computers without stimulating creativity and having critical thinking around to have constructive thinking, I think we won't get the good results that we look for concerning teaching. Another student has a different opinion. In my opinion, teachers do not use technology properly. That's a student who seems not to be happy about using technology in class. They are not keeping up with our generation and do not take advantage of the opportunities it provides to us. So in this case, he believes that the teachers are not using the proper technology for the proper situation. I think that the things that technology provides us is endless. It's helpful on any scale. Teachers are always complaining about late homework, and students are always complaining about lost homework. We can easily settle this feud with the simplest technology. Students will have all of their papers and due assignments to their teacher on time. So if they can do this at home and just send it to the teacher, so there won't be any delay, there won't be any excuses for the students. And the teachers will easily be able to see it, that it's done, and gladly give them an A. Technology in school gives us endless opportunities, and it's only best if our teachers provide us with the best way possible. So here we have to keep in mind a very important point, that teachers have to be very well trained concerning using technology in class. What kind of technology is suitable? Is it suitable to use laptops, to use the computer, to use mobile devices, iPads, whatever? And even if we use them, is it easy for the teacher to deal with in class without feeling embarrassed with his or her students? Sometimes to ask the students, that's nice, but sometimes the teacher is just baffled and doesn't know what to do. So this is not, of course, good for the students or for the educational process, because in this case, the teacher won't be able to help the students to do any kind of work or let's say any kind of fruitful work in class. Finally, another student came to say, to support what I've just said, I think the teachers at my school use technology very well. We have technology all over our school, and it really helps the teachers as well as the students. The teachers as well as the students. I feel that the teachers sometimes don't know how to use the technology as well as the students do. So the students have to teach the teachers. I think this is good because both the students and the teachers are learning from each other. So this is very nice. If the students know that the teachers sometimes need help, that's nice, but they respect the fact that they don't know something. And so it can be kind of mutual help without just putting limitation and saying, no, I know everything. No, there is no need to worry about this. Sometimes the students, because they are much younger, they learn much better than us, much quicker than us. And that's why if they help us here and there about something concerning the computer gadgets, no harm will happen, or no disrespect will take place concerning it. So far we have seen that these are different opinions of the teachers. The teachers believe that using technology is good, but it has to be well organized, and they have to get good training for this, and they have to include fun in the learning process. Students, on the other hand, say that it's nice to use the computer games or educational games in studying, but sometimes they get lost or distracted, lost in time. Sometimes the teachers don't have them enough because they are not very good at technology, but they don't mind using technology, whether at school or at home, to achieve their assignments and do their work. But at the same time, some of them believe that it's very important to mix between the traditional ways of teaching and the modern ways, because interacting with the teacher in class face to face is much more effective than just dealing with the computer, just listening to a lecture and that's it. Thus, by far, we come to the conclusion that education is a wholesome process that must be viewed from all sides. As Kristen DeSerbo said, mentioned in her article, Impacts of the Digital Ocean, published, while the digital ocean requires changes to technological systems and to some of our statistical and data procedures, perhaps the biggest change required is a change in thinking. So again, it's the idea of accepting what we are supposed to do with technology. Are we really convinced about, as teachers, about what we are using, or we are just applying it because the school wants that or the government wants that? We must step back and consider not only a few specific technologies, but also new relationships to existing categories. Consider not only new specific technologies, we have to think about the different kinds of technologies that are used. Are these different kinds of technologies suitable for us to apply in schools and classes? And sometimes it's suitable for one school, it's not suitable for another. But also new relationships to existing categories. Specifically, we will need to move from the items in isolation to activity in context. Instead of just using the books and using computer games that have no good relation with the books, we have to stick them to the context of the schedule or the curriculum that we are using, integrated inside the curriculum. Otherwise, they will be of no value. Assessment in isolation to educational unification. Again, it's the kind of integration between education and the technological tools. And the individual paradigm to social paradigm. At the same time, instead of just asking students to work alone, we can ask them to work in groups or pairs on the computer devices in order to achieve much better social relationships with their peers, and at the same time benefit from each other in achieving their assignments and understanding what they are supposed to do in class. Finally, I believe that more technical professional training for teachers is needed. It's very important. I believe if the school starts with one kind of device and train the teachers how to use it, it's much better than just giving the choices for the teachers to use all kinds of technology without testing them first, without applying them step by step first, and then get more results. There is quite a difference between students' reactions in the USA and Europe, which I believe goes back to differences in culture and policies. Yet more studies are recommended to get much better results, much clearer results. Testing educational games is really of great importance for the benefit of the whole education process and its results. Sometimes there are very famous computer games or educational games, and everybody are using them. But at the same time, they are not as beneficial as others. So we have to test the computer games quite well before we really apply them in class. Are they just a waste of time, or are they really beneficial? Should they be done in school, or should we allow the students to use them at home to do some kind of assignment? As teachers, we need to understand personally what are the things that technologically interest students. Learn it and try it. And this reminds me again of Eric Schninger, who was the keynote speaker in the administration conference about 2 weeks ago, who said that when he wanted, as the principal of the school where he was working, he wanted to apply technology. So he tried to see what kind of technology the students liked in his school. He tried to practice them, he studied them, and then started helping teachers having professional development in order to apply them in schools, and they were really successful. And if possible, use it in attracting students to the learning process. The process of education is a mutual interest that needs cooperation and wisdom to enlighten the way to learning in a fast developing computing media. Mutual interest between the students and the teachers. If the teacher believes that using technology is very interesting and the students don't, so the students won't benefit anything. They won't be interactive. They won't gain anything from behind this. They are going to be doing just boring work in school or at home. But if the teacher succeeds in passing her or his interest to the students and engaging them in the tool that they are using in order to do their studies or their assignments or their work in school, for sure there will be mutual interest, and this would help the students to get more engaged in the learning process and get much better results than we really expect. Especially that computer and technological devices are developing very fast nowadays. So we have to be updated all the time to catch up with our students who are learning technology much faster than us, and at the same time, sometimes they know much better gadgets or much better computer systems that they can use in learning. They can use it much better than us as teachers. So it's very important to be updated all the time in order to help them get better results. Thank you. I hope you have enjoyed the discussion. And here I have set a link to a digital sheet for the references I used for the presentation. I hope, and there will be slide share also. We'll put it in the text box. Just a second. This is the slide share for this PowerPoint presentation. If you'd like to share it, you are welcome. And there is also this digital sheet where you can find all the references that I've used in preparation for this presentation, as well as my contact. I have this email and the LinkedIn. I would be happy if you can join me on the LinkedIn community group. I have another group on LinkedIn which is called Maha Hassan. training community. It's a group on LinkedIn. If you can join us, you are mostly welcome for discussions about this presentation and using technology in classes. At the same time, we have also founded a teaching or training community for teachers to exchange experiences with teachers all over the world, and to help any teachers in need of help. You can find it on Facebook. Here, this is our page, facebook.com/maha.esl training, or the group on Facebook also, /groups Maha ESL training. So you are highly welcome to join us, and if you have questions, you are mostly welcome. Thank you, Eileen. So if there are any questions or any comments, again, that would be all. If you would like to come in. Okay, Eileen, so far that's all I have for now. So if you'd like to stop the recording, and we can leave right now. Eileen, are you there?